Happy Juneteenth! Yes. Today, June 19, 2025, is a special day. For today, we celebrate Juneteenth, or as it is also called, Freedom Day. This world is one great battlefield with forces all arrayed. If in my heart I do not yield, I'll overcome someday. I'll overcome someday. I'll overcome someday. If in my heart I do not yield, I'll overcome someday. My mind is not to do the wrong, but walk the narrow way. I'm praying as I journey on to overcome someday, to overcome someday, to overcome someday. I'm praying as I journey on to overcome someday. Though many a time no signs appear of answer when I pray, my Jesus says I need not fear. He'll make it plain someday. I'll be like him someday. I'll be like him someday. My Jesus says I need not fear. He'll make it plain someday. I'll overcome someday. I'll overcome someday. If in my heart I do not yield, I'll overcome someday. Hello to my first time viewers, welcome. My name is Joseph Long and I thank you for tuning in. To my returning viewers, hello friends, and thank you for your support. Since the beginning of time, storytelling has been an important event in the African and African American communities. Through storytelling, questions were answered, history was conveyed, and lifelong lessons were taught and learned. When Africans were brought to the Americas during the infamous slave trade, the slavers denied many of the traditions they had practiced for thousands of centuries. The enslaved African was refused all connections with his rich African past. Storytelling is a dying tradition. Today, I like to channel my ancestors with a story to you, a story of lost history, of a journey of a proud people. By the end of this story, whether you are of African descent or not, my hopes are that you may have learned something new, that you have gained more of an appreciation for this holiday called Juneteenth. I present to you a reading from the book, The Juneteenth Story, celebrating the end of slavery in the United States, written by Alliah L. Agostini and illustrated by Sawyer Cloud. Before I start, I ask that you please hit the like button. This may seem like an insignificant gesture to you, but to me, it will mean a lot. It helps with the algorithms. In turn, it helps this platform to continue growing. Thank you. Unlike my meditation practices for this event, I encourage your interaction, your feedback throughout. If anything I say resonates with you and you want to give me an amen, a thumbs up, a happy face, feel free to do so. If something triggers a negative reaction, let me know that too. In other words, You don't have to wait till the end of the reading to talk to me. To my ancestors, it is an honor to stand on your shoulders. The story of Juneteenth started hundreds of years before it was ever celebrated. On July 4th, 1776, Independence Day, America broke away from British rule and was finally able to bask in the light of freedom. But not everyone who lived there was that fortunate. For what was spanned over 300 years, more than 400,000 African people were stolen from their homes and made to help build the country that became this free America. Though some tried to fight back, they and many of their descendants were enslaved, brutally forced to work for no pay, and denied their basic rights. They could not eat what they wanted to eat. They could not play when they wanted to play. They could not live how they wanted to live. And Independence Day did not free them. It would take 89 more years until enslaved people too would be free. Although Congressman Abraham Lincoln didn't always believe Black and white people deserved equal rights, he did believe the idea of slavery was wrong. When he was elected president in 1867, Southern states did the unthinkable and broke away from the United States of America. They left the nation to form a new country called the Confederate States of America, sometimes called the Confederacy, where slavery will remain legal. On April 12th, 1861, the Civil War began, Southern states versus Northern states, Confederacy versus Union. The North entered the war because they did not want the United States to break up into two countries. However, eventually the war became a battle to end slavery. As the Civil War continued, President Lincoln took steps to end slavery. On January 1st, 1863, he issued an order called the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring all enslaved persons in the now 10 states of the Confederacy forever free. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution was passed 2 years later after the Civil War ended, officially freeing all enslaved people in the United States. Slavery had become illegal, but in Confederate Texas, enslavers kept that news a secret. The big state of Texas was far from where most of the battles of the Civil War were being fought, so no Union soldiers were close enough to make sure the new laws were followed there. Texas farm owners had crops to harvest and sell. Without enslaved workers, who would pick them? The Civil War had ended, but enslaved Texans were not told the truth. They continued working because they didn't know they were actually free. The Confederacy surrendered to the Union on April 9th, 1865, but it wasn't until June 19th that Union General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas. The war now over, he declared his General Order number 3 from the balcony. The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. 900 days after Emancipation Proclamation, 89 years after Independence Day, 339 years after the first enslaved Africans came to the land that is now America. The secret is finally out. Freedom now belongs to enslaved people too. Newly freed Texans began to feel the long delayed warmth of liberty's glow. As the news spread, they prayed, ate, and sang in celebration, though some were still in shock. Others left right away to search for and reunite with long lost family members from whom they had been separated by slavery. June 19th became Jubilee Day. It was their Independence Day. Starting in 1866, families and communities in Texas held the first yearly Jubilee Day celebrations. The next year, the Freedmen's Bureau hosted the first Jubilee Day held in the state capitol and taught formerly enslaved people about the privileges that freedom offered them. Jubilee Day festivities grew as the newly emancipated used their new rights to earn money and purchase property. They bought land and built parks like Emancipation Park in Houston, their own spaces where they could freely gather in their best clothes to barbecue, sing, dance, pray, and play. At many Jubilee days, the Emancipation Proclamation was recited so that everyone could reflect on the words that had changed their lives forever. Jubilee Day became Juneteenth, short for its date of June 19. Not all Black people saw Juneteenth as a reason to hold big, joyous events. Some felt their pain from enslavement would never be understood by younger generations who hadn't lived through it, so they hosted their own separate gatherings. Others tried to ignore Juneteenth altogether. Slavery was a terrible memory, and they preferred not to talk about it. And even though Black people were no longer enslaved, freedom wasn't the same for them as it was for other Americans. As the 1900s arrived, new laws spread throughout the South, limiting Black people's rights and keeping Black and white people separate. Called Jim Crow's laws, these rules made it hard for many Black people to have access to opportunities like good jobs and education. Black people couldn't even enjoy parks where only whites were allowed, forcing many Juneteenth celebrations, festivities to be held far outside of town. Between Jim Crow and major events of the early 1900s, like World War I and the Great Depression, Juneteenth began to lose its shine. During World War I, some people considered the celebration not American, a reminder of a sad time not worth talking about. And during the Great Depression of 1929 to 1939, people didn't have much extra money or extra time to use to host fairs and parties. But Juneteenth remained in the hearts of many Black Texans. In 1936, after years of little attention, sparks of Juneteenth reignited with a momentary bang. The Texas Centennial Exposition welcomed more than 46,000 Black visitors to a huge Juneteenth celebration to open its groundbreaking Hall of Negro Life, an entire building dedicated to famous Black inventors, scholars, celebrities, and more. It featured huge murals illustrating the history of Black Texans. Pride burned in the hearts of everyone who participated. As time passed, Black people, especially in the South, grew tired of Jim Crow laws casting shadows on their rights. Many moved north and west for better opportunities, and some also worked together to fight back as part of the civil rights movement. Juneteenth spread as Black Texans moved across America and shared their traditions in their new cities. In the civil rights movement, activists even made Juneteenth part of their 1968 Poor People's Campaign in Washington, D.C., a march for fair access to jobs and housing for people without them. More than 50,000 people took part, and many brought Juneteenth with them back to their homes around the country. In the 1970s, as America prepared to mark 200 years of independence, many Black people remembered Frederick Douglass' words and realized something. Their freedom was not 200 years old. For some, Juneteenth now symbolized their Independence Day. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Buffalo, New York, and more cities well beyond Texas, new Juneteenth traditions came to life. Families reunited, learned about their heritage, paraded, barbecued, and celebrated together. Their festivals grew larger each year. In Texas, Juneteenth festivities continued, and some celebrations, like Austin's, which had stopped for 25 years, were revived. And more than 110 years after the first Juneteenth, State Representative L. Edwards succeeded in marking it an official Texas state holiday in 1979. Though Juneteenth had long been recognized in many communities, most Americans still didn't know about it or its history. But a series of horrific events in the weeks before Juneteenth 2020 and the resurgence of Black Lives Matter protests and response put a long overdue spotlight on how poorly Black people had continued to be treated in America. Those events and the decades-long efforts of activists and government officials helped Juneteenth finally start to get the national attention it deserves. On June 17, 2021, over 150 years since the first Jubilee Day, it was made an official American holiday. Falling just weeks before Independence Day each year, Juneteenth is a time to remember and celebrate our enslaved ancestors' strength and perseverance. But it also reminds us to keep working toward the American dream, liberty and justice for all. I'll overcome someday. I'll overcome someday. If in my heart I do not yield, I'll overcome someday. Before I end this live recording, I like to read your comments. Is anyone doing something, or has you already done something in honor of Juneteenth? What are your thoughts on Juneteenth? I also would like to see who stopped by to support in support of this event, this channel. So on YouTube, oh, it's hot in this room after doing everything closed. That's why I'm sweating bullets in here. But on YouTube, I have M0012. Good to see you, my friend. And she types in beautiful with the Black Power fist. She continues on. Thank you for telling this important story. The book has an excellent storytelling style for all ages and has beautiful illustrations. The story of freedom continues today. Yes, it does. Thank you for that feedback. I do think it has a beautiful read to it. I think it's more geared to a younger audience. But as you stated, I think people our age and older could appreciate it too. I like the wording on here. And on Instagram, I have quite a few people on here too. I have Kay here. I think you are a first-time viewer. Good to see you. You could have tuned anywhere. You could have stopped by anywhere, and you stopped by here. Good to see you, my friend. Happy Juneteenth to you. Arturo is in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Doing a lot of beautiful things. Speaking of Black people, yes, Arturo is a very influential person in the Black community. Thank you for stopping by, my brother. Happy Juneteenth to you. And then my brother, Yes. And is it pronounced MYZ house? Good to see you, my friend. Coming in the house, I see flying, what is it? Flying Ray 55. I think you're a first timer as well. Thank you all. I guess I need to do more topics like this to get my newcomers on here. Good to see you. Thank you all, my brothers and my sisters. A happy Juneteenth to you all. All right. Thank you for joining me for story time. If you came at the tail end, the recording will be on my YouTube and Instagram channel immediately after the end of this live recording, so you can catch up on what you missed. I want to thank you for joining me in this story time. And please, if you haven't done so already, hit that like button. And I look forward to virtually seeing you again tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on my YouTube and Instagram channels for a guided meditation. I love you and I appreciate you. Peace and blessings. Some more M0012. That definitely made me emotional. Thank you, Joseph, for lending your beautiful speaking and singing voices. I figured for me, it triggers several emotions. Like you said, I see two people on here, one like talking about on YouTube. Yes, because it's definitely appropriate for today. We're talking about in the 1800s, early 1900s, and now we are in the 2025, and we still talking about the Black and brown people getting the same rights, same freedoms as everyone else, especially with our white brothers and sisters. So my name is Joseph Long, and I am signing off. May you all have a great Juneteenth.